So I've shared at different times why I chose to move to the Philippines. It really kind of happened accidentally. I had a business that I was opening up a back office over here. I didn't plan on actually staying here, maybe just coming here every year or so. But once I got here, I really knew that this was a place that I wanted to move. And so after a few times coming here in 2019, I decided to come here full time from January 2020 till now. But I'm not going to talk about all of that. Again, I really want to talk about not why I came here, not why I chose to stay initially, but why after about 4.5 years of being here, I still love to be in the Philippines, why I still choose for the Philippines to be my home. So the main reason still really centers around relationships. That is something that's always been most important to me in my life, probably because my parents divorced when I was so young. I just grew up always wanting to have a family and kids and live happily ever after and all of that kind of stuff. And none of that worked out quite like I hoped. Some divorces later, I'm at least so grateful that I have 4 wonderful kids that are all grown and adults. I was a single dad for a number of years, and if anything, that I could look back earlier at my life when it comes to what was wonderful that came out of relationship, it's definitely my 4 sons. But even at 51 years old, more than anything in life, I still have really wanted to find a great partner. And for me, the Philippines is really a great place to find one. When I was still living in the US, I actually already started dating people outside of my own culture. Yes, I would date Americans, but I would really be looking more, especially living in the Silicon Valley in California where I was, very diverse culture there, and definitely a lot of women from China, Vietnam, Philippines. And so dating Filipinas really came for me, not when I moved to the Philippines, but started back when I was still living in California. There was just something about dating women from Asian culture. It's a bit different. Just different values, different way of doing relationships that really drew me to them. And I found that Filipinas, with all of the challenges, with all of the things that I might talk about in other videos, Filipinas are still wonderful partners. And I really believe that I have the highest chance of finding a great long-term partner living here. So first and foremost, why do I stay in the Philippines? Probably, if I'm really honest, this one is number 1. Or it's definitely very, very high up on my list. All of that said, living in a new culture, finding a partner here is a challenge of its own. You know, whenever there's cross-cultural relationships, it's not as straightforward as dating within your own culture. In your own culture, you already know all the stuff that you like or dislike, you know, kind of the spectrum of, you know, what crazy looks like, what healthy looks like, you know, all of those types of things. When you come to a new culture, all of that, you really just hit the restart button and you have to figure all those things out over from scratch. So this is the main reason why I continue to live here. However, I gotta say that it's a work in progress. Second reason why I'm in the Philippines really has to do with my own culture in the US, and I think Western culture to some extent in general. For me, living in the US has so much to offer. You know, and especially coming from California, I know what a lot of people say about California, all of the negatives. But for me, growing up there, living a lot of my life there, I love California. There's just so much that it has to offer with diversity. You could be at the beach, you could be in snow-capped mountains, you could be in the desert, you could be in absolutely beautiful national parks like Yosemite and others. There's just so much there. Big cities, small country towns, farms, you name it. And for me, it was really in terms of what it had to offer where I lived. There was just so much there. For work as well, it's definitely just so much easier running a business in California compared to here in the Philippines. However, the culture in the US for me is just really in decline in so many ways. And I got to say my heart really aches for so much what's going on over there. Just the division, the polarization between people, the aggression. I mean, just have 2 people trying to take the same parking spot, you know, in a parking lot and see the fireworks that will fly. The culture in the US just feels a bit toxic now, feels aggressive. It just feels a little bit exhausting. So much that the US has to offer in terms of, you know, infrastructure and diversity and, you know, food and anything you want to buy, all those material type of things. You know, you're not waiting in long lines. Most of the things that I would complain about in the Philippines, they've already solved those problems and they all work perfectly in the US. But for me, I stay in the Philippines because the relational piece of it is far more important. The people that I'm around are far more important than all those modern conveniences. Recently had an expat that came over here that I know that lives in Thailand. And like a lot of guys that I know that live in Thailand, they're like, why do you live in the Philippines? Thailand has better infrastructure, the food's better, you know, the costs on, you know, housing or this or that, clothes, whatever is cheaper. You should just come over here to Thailand. But what I always tell these guys is the reason why I don't live in Thailand is because I care about the people. In Thailand, it's really hard to communicate with people in English. If I wanted to live in a place because there was better infrastructure or this or that, I'd just go back to my own country. The reason why I live in the Philippines instead of the US or instead of Thailand or instead of any other Southeast Asian country for the moment is I just so much love the people over here. And even though there's things that certainly drive me crazy here, I just really love who the people are here. I feel at home. This culture feels like my culture to a large extent. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but it's perfect for me. Last but not least, the reason why I continue to stay here in the Philippines is I love adventure. I love change. I love new. I love learning. And all of that is really part of being an expat. You know, so this last part, you know, probably could be satisfied in Thailand or a lot of other countries, but it's definitely an added bonus, you know, with the other two things that I just mentioned. For me, the world is such a big, diverse, beautiful mess of a place, and there's just so much to experience. Why would I only want to stay in my own country? It makes a lot more sense to me having the opportunity at this stage in my life to live in another place. Just so many wonderful experiences, so many ways of doing life different, whether I agree with them or disagree with them or confused by them.